Dragon Age The Veilguard is the latest game from BioWare. Coming a full 10 years after the last Dragon Age game, The Veilguard has been modernized for full DirectX 12 with ray tracing and frame generation. But how well does it run on modern GPUs? Starting off with VRAM usage, and at lowest quality setting at 900p, we're using a little over 5.5 gigabytes, with that number going up to 6.5 gigabytes at 4K. If you're looking to play at ultra quality settings, which we'll be testing at, then you will need a bit more VRAM, with it requesting about 9 gigabytes at 1080p, and going up to about 10.5 gigabytes at 4K. Enabling ray tracing does increase this by about 1 to 1.5 gigabytes, and if you're going to use frame generation, the total requested amount at 4K will be about 13 gigabytes. The good news for gamers though is that the low quality setting still looks pretty good, and will net you an additional 20% extra performance. That's about the same performance differential between Ultra and Ultra with ray tracing, so you do have options if you do need additional performance. And speaking of performance, at 1080p ultra quality settings without ray tracing, even our RTX 3050 was able to produce a console-like 30 FPS. That's good news for gamers since, effectively, if you have a modern GPU, you should be able to play this game pretty well. But if you are looking for a 60 FPS experience, you can get that with an RX 6800 or an RTX 3070, and even the aging RTX 2080 Ti. Getting a high refresh rate gaming experience though will be a little bit more tricky, though you do have some options, especially for NVIDIA if you do want above 100 FPS. Enabling ray tracing thankfully doesn't tank performance, and even with all the bells and whistles enabled, most cards were able to provide a playable experience. Without ray tracing at 1440p, only 3 cards are able to achieve above 100 FPS, with the RTX 4090 leading the pack at 124. 60 FPS can still be achieved with an RX 7800 XT, as well as an RTX 3080. And even at Ultra 1440p, you can get a playable experience out of the ARC A750, RTX 3060, and RX 6600 XT. The jump to 4K though is too much for the lower power cards, with the required performance for a 30 FPS experience now being held by the RTX 3070 Ti and the RX 6800. If you are looking for a 60 FPS experience though, your options are basically just an RTX 4090 at 73 FPS, with the RX 7900 XTX falling just a little bit short. Enabling ray tracing does push even the RTX 4090 below the 60 FPS line, though you'll still get a playable experience for most high-end cards, and if not, you can always lower some settings, enable frame generation, or DLSS or FSR.